Now it says,
Carter is in there.
yes. Promote to panelist, permission to promote, now it says.
Yes.
Carter to
Carter
panelist,
is in there.
okay. Who else to promote? Promote to
We're looking for
panelist,
Millie and Milton.
permission to promote, now it says.
Yes.
Carter to panelist.
Carter is in there.
Yes.
Hey, Carter.
Who else to promote?
Hello.
We're looking for Millie and Milton.
Promote, now it says.
Yes.
Carter to panelist.
Carter is in there.
Yes.
Hey, Carter.
Who else to promote?
Hello.
Harry, I think you have to mute the
I
other
just did.
screen.
Yes, thank you. I see John Perry, John Sullivan. Oh, there's Millie.
Okay.
I think you're all set.
Okay. I'll start the meeting and then we'll have to promote the St. Gobain applicants. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Today is December 2nd, 2025, and this is the meeting of the Northborough Planning Board. This meeting is being held entirely remote. If there is anyone in the public watching on YouTube, go to the town website. Under calendars, you can look up the agenda for the planning board if you would like to connect when it comes time for public comments. Tonight, first on our agenda, we have a public hearing for 9 Goddard Street, map 17, parcel 9. I will read. Well, actually, maybe we'll let the attendees in from St. Gobain. If you raise your hand.
Should be John Sullivan. Don is D52. And Shin Yao Hong. I'm not sure if there's anybody else on that team. John Perry.
Before we start the application, I do have to read the public meeting notice, public hearing notice. So I'll read that. In
You wanna
accordance with the,
promote John Perry and Scott Harrison as well. I'm sorry.
oh, that's okay. In accordance with the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 9, the Northborough Planning Board will hold a public hearing on December 2nd, 2025 at 6 o'clock to consider the application for special permit per Groundwater Protection Overlay District bylaw and site plan approval submitted by St. Gobain Research North America for 9 Goddard Road, map 17, parcel 9, in the Industrial Zoning District and the Groundwater Protection Overlay District Area 2. The applicant seeks approval for a facade replacement of Building 1 and 3 additions totaling approximately 22,655 square feet. This meeting will be held remotely. Okay. Thank you. Welcome, St. Gobain. Could you please state who would be presenting tonight?
Sure. My name is John Sullivan. I'm a partner at SGA. We're the architects leading the project in collaboration with St. Gobain. So I'm going to give most of the presentation, but was going to ask either Don or Rick Berry from St. Gobain to kind of present a couple slides about their company.
Yes, Rick had difficulty joining, so I'll present the 2 slides on our company.
Great. Thanks, Don. Should I just kind of jump in?
Oh, sure. I lost connection, so I was just trying to reconnect on a different Wi-Fi. But yes, if you would like to start your presentation, that would be great. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Very excited to be here to present the plan to renovate Building 1 on St. Gobain's campus, which sits in Northborough and Marlborough. I'll run through a brief presentation, and then the team is available to answer questions. And, we just wanted to start by introducing the project, and I'll pass it over to Don, who can speak to the next couple of slides as it reflects who Saint-Gobain is and their contribution to the community.
Great, thank you. Do I have the ability to advance the slides?
I will advance them for you. Just let me know when.
Okay. So this just shows an aerial view of our campus. 26 acres, 6 buildings, about 226,000 square feet of building space over Northborough and Marlborough. You can advance to the next slide, please. Great, thank you. Just a quick overview of our company for people that are not familiar with Saint-Gobain. So Saint-Gobain has been in existence for 360 years. If you ever have the opportunity to visit the Palace of Versailles in France, the company started way back then creating the mirrors for the Hall of Mirrors at the Palace of Versailles. Today, the company has revenues greater than $50 billion. We are a global company. We are committed to achieving carbon neutrality by 2050, so that is a goal of ours. In North America, we have approximately 15,000 employees and 160 manufacturing sites. And SGRNA stands for Saint-Gobain Research North America. We're an innovation center for Saint-Gobain with business segments ranging from construction to life sciences. The Innovation Center has been in Northborough for more than 40 years. Our location is one of 8 global innovation centers and the only global center in North America, and we're very pleased to be in Northborough. We occupy the 26 acres of land, as I noted, and it's a combination of both lab and office space. And the site is currently home to approximately 350 people. Hopefully this project will get approved and we can expand up to probably close to 400 plus people. If you don't mind scrolling to the next slide. So we were founded as a center in our location in Northborough in 1985, focused on ceramics R&D at our location. In 1990, the center became part of Saint-Gobain with the acquisition of Norton Company, which was the original company that started our research location. In the 2000s, SGR North America Center was seeing rapid growth. We expanded in space. The budget grew and the number of employees expanded as well. I actually was an employee back in 1998 and we had less than 100 people. So it's grown quite a bit since then. And today the center is a multidisciplinary industrial research center, and we're at the leading edge of innovation, and we hope to continue our growth here in Northborough. So we really do appreciate the opportunity to present tonight. So, and thank you for all of your support in guiding us in our permitting process. So if you don't mind scrolling on to the next one, I think John's going to take over from here.
Great. Thanks, Don. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
And we're also very grateful for all of the guidance that the Northborough team has given us through this process. We just want to share this slide to kind of introduce some of the teammates on the design side. Again, I'm with SGA. We're architects and interior designers that are leading that part of the project. We're here with Langen Engineering, who's done a lot of our site and civil engineering. And Copley Wolf is our landscape architect in this. So trusted partners and great design professionals to be helping with this project. Next slide, please. Highlighting, just a little context for the board and for others, that Saint-Gobain has submitted, worked with the town to get a master plan approved in 2007, and then to have it amended in 2018. So everything we're doing is in the context of this master plan. So just wanted to start there to, kind of highlight our stepping off point. Next slide, please. And then to show you, kind of where we are today in terms of what's happening on site. So you can see the existing buildings, noted in gray, and you can see the building that we're here to talk about, noted in blue. We are talking about mostly a renovation of a building that's just over about 100,000 square feet in terms of reconfiguring interior program to support the work that Saint-Gobain is doing on campus. But we're also proposing a couple of minor additions, which you can see hatched, which we'll show in more detail as part of this project. A little bit of a zoom in on the site. Again, you can see the areas that are proposed to be expanded. Outside of that, there's really no reconfiguration that's being proposed on site other than some, more specific areas around the loading docks and around the additions themselves. If we go to the floor plan, one thing to note, just as that we're kind of flipping our orientation, so we just turned kind of 90 degrees counterclockwise. But again, you can see the additions that are highlighted in blue. This is the first level. All of the detail with inside the building is just the reconfiguration of the research spaces and the office spaces. The addition to the kind of upper page left is just over 1,800 square feet. The addition in the upper right-hand corner is just over 3,200 square feet, both single story to match the existing building. And then the addition to the lower left, which we call the Northwest addition, totals about 17,000 square feet over 2 levels. So just a little bit over 8,500 square feet per level. You'll also notice, if you look hard enough on this image, there's kind of a blue line that wraps around the building, and that's just identifying the scope of the existing facade work that will be done, which essentially is just a replacement in kind effort, but a kind of a robust effort in terms of upgrading the facade to be highly sustainable and to be in line with the Massachusetts Stretch Energy Code. So that outlines kind of the scope of the project in terms of its extents in the exterior. The next plan here is level 2. Again, it's a partial level. What you see in white, kind of page north, is the roof below. Again, the facade work would apply to this level as well, and then you're seeing the upper level in the lower left-hand corner, which we call the Northwest Addition. So just to give a sense of the scope of the project. And lastly, on the next slide, you kind of see a roof plan, which just kind of outlines the areas that will be added. There's multiple levels of roof aligned with level 2 and level 1, and there'll be equipment that will be placed here to support the inner workings of the building. Next slide, please. So wanted to refresh folks as to kind of what the building looks like. Again, this is kind of the building at the heart of the campus. You can see some images on the upper left and upper right that show the entry of the building from the visitor parking area. Nice, kind of wooded, landscaped feel around the building. And the existing building right now is a facade assembly called EIFS. And then there's some horizontal windows that that sit in the building. And again, you'll see it in the elevations. But what we're proposing really is a replacement in kind. We will, and we can provide some more, specific detail. But essentially, the window line is staying the same. We're pushing the sill down 6 inches, very in a minor way. And then the EIFS itself will be a new assembly, highly insulated, which will help with the building energy performance. But from a visual standpoint, other than some color moments that we'll share that we're thinking about around the entry, it's essentially a like-in-kind replacement from a material standpoint. Next slide, please. You can see that on these elevations, kind of looking head on. The middle one is, shows that recessed main entry area. The building has these curved corners, so, a little bit of a softer feel as you move around the building. But, again, everything that you see on this facade will be new, high performing, energy conscious, and will look very much like what's there now, except kind of cleaned up with new glass and new finishes on the EIFS. You can also notice that the height of the building will not change. Where we're pushing out for those additions, we're aligned with the second floor in the Northwest addition, and then the first floor for the 2 additions in the rear. Next slide, please. And again, you can kind of see that, we've identified the areas of new construction, which on this side of the building are some loading areas, and then some research areas that sit just inward of the building. Next slide, please. Some more elevations. And again, we can get into any of this in more detail if there's questions, but again, it's basically what's there today. And then just to give a snapshot of what we're thinking about at the building's entrance. This is working with the existing geometry of the building. The building, we think, with the new EIFS, even where it's not shown in color, is going to be very clean and crisp and new. But we did think we had a nice opportunity at the entry moment to incorporate some color, which is being proposed to be kind of a darker blue that kind of in a gradient fashion transitions to a lighter blue at the entry. And this blue represents Saint-Gobain's brand, but also ties into other moments on the campus where they've employed this as an accent color. So we feel like it's very appropriate and kind of exciting to have happen at the entry. There's also some stair towers that sit outside of the building that would also receive a blue finish, but not a gradient finish, just a solid blue to, again, kind of tie it into other moments on campus. So just wanted to share that. Last thing I will say is the building will be highly sustainable. Don had mentioned the Saint-Gobain's net carbon or carbon zero plans for 2050. We are working with a sustainability consultant that just became part of the team to work towards some LEED goals and some other energy performance goals. So that's part of this process as well. But just wanted to share a high-level overview of the project, just to introduce it to everyone. We also, if appropriate, wanted to just address a couple of questions that we received this week, because I think we can speak to them. And then some more questions came in today, and we're happy to entertain and talk about any and all questions that the board may have. But specifically, there were some questions that were shared earlier in the week that asked for certain things in the drawings to be clarified. So that we're happy to do that. We understand there'll be kind of another submission, and we'll provide that clarity as it relates to some of the information on the site plans, some demarcation, some boundaries, information about the retaining wall, information about some guardrails, all of that we can provide more detail on. There was a question about construction entrances, which was a great point, and we can address. And then there was also a question about compliance with the zoning bylaw. And I will say there was a table on the civil drawings that was included in the submission, but we do comply as it relates to setbacks and lot coverage, heights, in every category. What we're submitting complies with the zoning ordinance, and we consider by right. There were some questions that needed some more clarification, which I thought we could speak to tonight and then kind of clarify more on what we submit. There's a question about the windows and the facade. And I understand, why that question would be, but again, what we're proposing, we can provide some more detail and maybe a comparison between the existing portion of the facade and a new portion of the facade, but essentially, the same from an organization and window scope standpoint, same from a material finish standpoint, other than that slight modification in the windows, and we can clarify that. There's also a question about traffic and parking. And as part of our submission, Langen, included some calculations in terms of, traffic heading to the site and parking on site. Don had mentioned we are adding some new employees to the site because this will bring some of their departments that exist in other towns to this campus. But with the calculations they've done to monitor how the parking is used today, all of the employees will have a parking spot, and we don't anticipate exceeding any of the parking that's on site. It's all very proximate to the building. So we see that as, we're adding minimal square footage, but even with that add and with the add of employees, there still should be additional parking spaces that remain on site. Though there was a question about the landscape plan, which, made sense to us. And, I think the answer there, I think the question was, please describe the scope of what's being proposed. It's very minimal. It's really just within the work zone outside of the building. This is not really a landscape focused project, as most of the work on this project is internal. So it's really meant to be replaced kind of in kind, whether it's grass up to the building or crushed stone or mulch, It's really that scope that just kind of follows the perimeter of the building and extends out about 10 feet. I know other areas were highlighted on site as described as soft areas or gathering areas, and I think that was just to describe how the site operates, but we're not proposing any improvements in that zone. And then lastly, there was, a couple of good questions, and I know there was some material that we submitted in our response as it relates to chemicals. It's a research building. There will be, chemicals and hazardous materials that are stored on site. All of those materials will not exceed the maximum allowable quantities as prescribed by the International Building Code. So, that's been a focus of how we've been organizing that. And anything that is stored on site internally will be stored in approved cabinets, that are appropriate for interior use. So we can provide, a lot of technical information on that front. We've also, can share, Saint-Gobain has a very robust plan on any kind of containment strategies and, kind of what they do to manage all of these hazardous materials. So that's, information that can be, provided and expanded upon as well. And part of that ties into the last question that was shared, which was about the, us being in the groundwater overlay district and to make sure that none of that goes back into the system. So it will, the plan will not mix any of that with the groundwater, but Langen can provide something that, certifies that and provides more detail on that. So those were the questions that we reviewed to share, and I know there's some more, and we're happy to turn it over to the group to answer any questions and share more about the project.
Thank you very much. For those in the audience, he was going through the planning director questions, comments, and recommendations. I'll start with you, Lori. Do you have anything else you want to add? I know he just went through your memo, so that's great. Thank you. Were there any additional questions that you had, Lori?
No, I think the revised submittal, if you could do me a favor and use my Word document that I emailed to you and respond point by point, that would really help me accelerate my review when you resubmit.
Okay, great. Thank you for that.
Thanks.
We'll do it like that.
And like you mentioned, there were 2 letters received today. One from the DPW, Josh, and one from Concom, Vinny. And I noticed that Vinny said you will be on the Concom agenda for December 8th. So many of the questions on his email will probably be answered at that point. And I'm not sure if you want to go through if you have any answers to some of the questions that were sent out today. And I know it's just was sent out this afternoon, so I'm not even sure if the planning board had time to read the memos.
I don't think we don't have any prepared questions, although some of them cover on topics that, we addressed with Lori's questions.
Sure.
But if there's questions if the board or others want to dig into any of those, we're happy to discuss.
Sure. Does anyone on the board have any questions?
So basically, this project won't affect or impact any of the current parking that is there now?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Is that something we would have to waive, Lori? Because usually when there's an addition, it's like, well, I know the outside addition is probably about 17,000 square feet. So that would call for parking. So
Well, he did describe in the submittal materials their parking calculations. And what he demonstrated is that the parking that they have on site will be able to absorb the new employees. One of the comments that I had made is we do require a locust plan to be made at the scale of 1 inch equals 100 feet. And I am particularly interested in seeing that because I want to see the layout of all of the current parking spaces. So it's kind of confusing because you do have a master plan that you included, but a number of the parking spaces and buildings that are shown in the master plan have not yet been constructed. So That's why I think it would be valuable for you to include the locust plan at scale, which shows the existing conditions today. Or even if you show the proposed additions with the existing conditions, so we can see the layout of all those parking areas.
Yes, okay, great. We'll provide that and we'll highlight the parking as it relates to the building.
Is there any need or consideration to putting in either accessibility, handicap, more parking, or EV?
That's a good point. If you could just demonstrate that you are satisfying the requirement as far as handicap parking, so that you have the proper number of ADA parking spaces within close proximity to that building with the additions, the building number 1.
Yep. Yes, we can definitely do that. We'll highlight where those are and provide those counts.
And is there anything for electric vehicle charging or anything like that?
If I could jump in just for a minute. So we do have currently 8 electric vehicle spots that are in use today, and it's expandable to 16, I believe. So we do have EV charging at our site in that lot associated with building 1. The other thing too, and it's not really part of SGA's scope, but we are planning a parking lot across the street. And that will have, I think it's 207 or 208 spaces. We're still in the process of designing that parking lot, but there should be sufficient parking, as John was saying, in the building 1 parking lot associated with the number of people that are going to be joining and the additions, but we want more parking. So in case we get visitors, because we get a lot of visitors at our site.
Okay.
If you could show where the ADA parking spaces are as well as the EV parking spaces, that would be helpful.
Great. Yep, we'll do that.
Do you have anything else, Millie?
That was it.
Okay, I saw Bill's hand up first, and then I'll go to you, Carter.
Oh, no, my
So-
question actually got answered, so thank you.
Oh, okay. All right, Carter?
Hi, yeah, just a couple questions. So first, I was just kind of wondering about like walkways that would connect the building to the sidewalks on the street. Do those exist? Are those going to be part of the project? And then any crosswalks over any roads or driveways that those walkways would be on?
I mean, as it relates to the project or to the work covered by this project scope, we're really not planning for any new walkways other than just, to kind of connect up what's happening around those smaller additions. But the existing walkways that, kind of exist around campus will remain what they are today. So, very limited work as it relates to kind of campus connectivity. We're just kind of keeping what's happening at the building and working directly at the edges. I don't know, Don, if there's any more, that you'd want to add there, but our focus has really just been limited around the building and not expanding to the
Correct.
campus edges.
Yeah, right now, there wouldn't be a need for a crosswalk across the street because the campus is fully contained. But when we do a new parking lot across the street, we are working with Lori and her team to investigate crosswalks to ensure that pedestrians would be safe walking from the lot across the street. Again, it's not part of the scope of what John's working on, but it's a separate project. Did I
Again,
answer your question?
if you could show the walkways, I think that's where the locust plan would be really helpful.
Sure.
Because a number of the planning board members are new and not so familiar with the site. So that locust plan would really help orient everybody to the way things exist today.
Okay, great. Yeah, we'll highlight those in that plan. It's a good idea.
Was wondering if the board wanted to do a site visit. Like I have been on the board a long time, but I've never been to St. Gobain, so it's hard to visualize the changes. I don't know if
Would be
that's
happy to
something we could
host
do.
you. Yeah,
Sure.
absolutely. We'd be happy to host you.
Would anyone
Lo-
on the board be interested in that?
Yeah.
A site visit?
Yeah.
Okay, Anthony, would anybody else?
I definitely would, just
Yeah, I would.
as far as
All right.
campus, because I know that you have other projects. This is a phased project, right? I
Correct.
saw phase 1, phase 2 things, so might be good to get a grip on that.
Okay, so maybe between now and the next meeting, we can set up a date offline with Lori to do a quick campus walk.
Great.
I'd be
Is
happy
it-
to coordinate that.
Thanks. Does
Great.
anybody else on the board have any questions? My question was gonna be, parking also. I noticed in Josh's memo, he mentioned the master plan being updated every 5 years, and, Mr. Sullivan mentioned that there was an amendment in 2018. Is that something, Lori, we will need an amendment or an update to the master plan? Or is that something Sankaban is working on? I think the original decision said that the master plan had to be updated so many years.
I think it's every 15 years.
Okay. So I guess you could look into that, Lori, too, to see if the amendment to 2018 is enough, or do we need a whole new master plan? Or are we sticking, or are they going to continue on with the original master plan that they had?
I think that's a good question for Dawn. Have there been any changes in your forecasts for the campus? Or are you still interested in proceeding with the master plan that was approved in 2007 and amended in 2018?
I think that the design that we're doing fits pretty well within the current master plan. So I don't necessarily see a reason to amend it, but I would look for your guidance, Lori, if you think that that's something we need to do.
Well, I think as long as your plans haven't changed, then we can keep on. But
Okay.
when your plans change, then that would be the appropriate time for us to amend it and reflect whatever new hopes you have for the
Adjustments.
campus going forward.
Okay.
Maybe even sending a memo to Lori that there are no changes in the master plan, just so she can include it with the original master plan. So that could be the update.
Okay.
Okay. That's helpful.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna ask the board one more time. Do you have any more questions? Seeing none, this is a public hearing. I'm going to look to see if there are any questions in the audience. See. I don't see any hands raised. Okay, seeing none. It looks like you have some memos to reply to from Lori, from the DPW, from the Concom, and we haven't heard back from the fire department yet. So hopefully we will get their memo before the next meeting. Our next meetings are December 16th, January 6th. Do you have a preference on when to continue this meeting?
I would assume the sooner the better. But maybe a question for Lori, just in terms of like if we are providing follow-up material from here, is there a date that it needs by to make one of those hearing?
We do require the new submittal to be submitted 1 week in advance of the public hearing. So that would mean that you would need to file by noon next Wednesday. Would you be ready to do that? And also, I understand that we're gonna be down a member. So if you want to proceed at the December 16th meeting, then that would mean it would have to be unanimous.
Yes, I can't make it on the 16th. But if it continues to January, Lori, and if they come in on the 16th and it's not completed, I could watch the meeting and participate again on the 6th.
That's correct. So as long as you viewed all of the submittal materials and you watched the public hearing, then you would be eligible to vote at the following meeting.
I think, and Don, please, weigh in here as well, but I think we'd like to move towards the 12/16 meeting if we can. And Lori, maybe if there's an issue with that in terms of us developing any of the supporting materials, we can, reach out to you to coordinate, but I think we'd like to stay on, track with this
That'd be
as
great.
quick as we can.
Agree.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
John,
Does
as long
anyone
as
have-
you and Maggie and John from Langen feel that you can meet the submittals for next week.
Yeah, I think we'll be in good shape.
And if you can't, if it's on the 16th, they can always make a motion to continue it for January 6th. So you
Okay.
just let Lori know. If you can't make it, then we'll just continue it for January.
Okay, that's great.
Okay. Does anybody else have any more questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion to continue the public hearing for 9 Goddard Street, map 17, parcel 9 for December 16th at 6 o'clock?
So moved.
Second,
Okay, roll call vote. Carter Brannon,
Aye.
Bill Pierce,
aye.
Millie Milton. Millie?
Aye.
And Anthony Zaitin,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. We'll see you on the 16th.
Great. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so
Also-
much. Really appreciate it.
We'll
We
try to
appreciate-
pick a date too for the campus tour before then.
That's great.
Terrific.
Thank you all. Appreciate
Great,
it.
thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Good night.
Good night. Okay, next on our agenda is discussing potential zoning bylaw and municipal code amendments for annual town meeting. Quickly, I'm just gonna go through a rundown since the ZBA meeting. I noticed there's the fence bylaw that's still outstanding, Lori.
Yes, yep. I will try to get something together for the next meeting on the 16th.
Okay. And then the data center bylaw.
Actually, I just sent that to Carter. I'd been working on it up until the meeting today, so probably want to give Carter some time to read it through.
Yeah. Okay, so that will be the next meeting too. Next on the list was Assembly Hall. I heard consensus, I thought, from the ZBA that they were fine with the Assembly Hall, but thought it should be by special permit. But we can discuss that at the next meeting too, but that's where I thought it stood. The next one was Hotel Motel Conference Centers. Also by special permit. The birth definition update, I found they were okay with. Mixed use, parking update, they were okay with. The valet definition was fine, but there are minor updates, Lori, I think you were gonna make.
Yep, I will do that for the 16th.
Sure. And then Lori sent out her changes to the donation bin bylaw. Did anyone have time to read it? That was today, so no. Okay. I was fine with the changes, but I think it will give everybody time to read it. And maybe Laura, you could also send it to the ZBA for comment, because I know some of them had comments on it.
Would it be easier for people? I know it was a lot of track changes. Would it be easier for people if I did a clean copy for
Yep.
people to see? What I was trying to do is kind of blend it in with other municipal code formats. So there were some changes that were aimed in that direction as well. Or I could just leave it as is with all the track changes.
It's up to the board. I thought the changes were good. I was
Mhm.
fine with them.
Yeah, no, I did look through most of the changes and I thought they were pretty good. So,
I guess they'll have both copies, so they can read the tract and the clean. And if they have any input, they could send you their input.
One thing that I kind of was grappling with was, of course, I have spoken with Stephanie, and of course she personally doesn't want to be the one going out and inspecting donation bins, which is perfectly understandable. That's not typically the job of a town administrator. So I was grappling with who on the staff would be the most appropriate person to do that. And I put in the modifications that it would be the building inspector. But I wanted your thoughts on that. Typically, of course, the building inspector reports to the town administrator, not the board of selectmen. So there's that.
In my view, I thought that the licensing once a year would be like liquor licenses, even though they're not once a year, that the select board admin would send out the application, they would fill it out and send it back, and that Bob would enforce, but I wouldn't think he'd go around checking them. I would think if there's a problem, just like a zoning bylaw, if there was a concern, then someone reports it and he would go out and investigate it. I wouldn't foresee it as anything different than the job he's already doing, which is enforcing violations. So that's the way I was foreseeing it.
Okay.
I didn't think
Yeah.
he'd have to go out and inspect them.
And I did also send it to Bob, but of course that was today. So I haven't gotten any feedback from him about his thoughts. So I think that that's important to see what his opinion is on me scheduling him as the enforcement authority for this.
Yeah. Carter?
Yeah, just my like one kind of question when I was looking at it was just like the fees for it. Like I don't know how much money these things are usually making, but I feel like, like $150 for a nonprofit group just to kind of have this small like fundraising thing seems like a lot. So I'm just not sure like does that make sense? Do these make a lot more than that? Or is this would this kind of like stop anyone from doing it?
I thought that would be up to the Board of Selectmen to set the fees. I know there's an amount that the schools make. I would think that like the schools and the churches could be exempt from the fees. And if the businesses wanted them, then there could be a fee, but I would think that would be up to the Board of Selectmen to set the fee. Every town had a different. Some had 80, some had 100, some had 150, so
Would we
I'm not
want to
sure.
put something about nonprofits as well and being able to bypass the fee?
Yeah,
Register
actually, that
nonprofit.
was a question that I had. Because do you only want to do this for nonprofits versus for-profits. I know in some of the research that I did, some of the communities did just limit it to nonprofits. So that was a question that I had, as well as whether this is, do you want it to be a license or do you want it to be a permit? Because in some places it said permit and other places it said license, so I wasn't quite sure which direction you wanted to go.
What would be the difference?
I know, like, generally a license is for like a user. So, for example, like a tanning salon or oh, well, that's my interpretation anyway. Or a liquor license. So it'd be for a particular business to operate. Whereas a permit could be specific to, like, it could be one user with multiple permits. So it's the same operator, for example, but maybe he has 6 different permits for different bins in different locations. That's the way I think of it anyway.
Billy,
So
you have
I
your
was
hand up?
thinking they'd be more appropriate as a permit versus a license.
Mm-hmm.
I think there should be a maximum per site, like one on a site. You don't want someone to get 6 permits and fill up their whole parking lot with bins.
Yeah, I did modify, that was one of the changes that I made. So I did include something that said no more than 2 per property.
Yeah, the question I had goes back to a statement that I think Lori was looking for clarification on, was, are we charging a fee for nonprofits or charging a fee only for profits, or are we only allowing bins for nonprofits? And, or do we allow bins for profits as well? So I wasn't quite sure what you were asking for a question, so I was trying to clarify what the thought process was there.
Well, for me, so I know the way that Amy wrote it is that it would allow for-profits and nonprofits.
Right, right.
So I know the bins that I'm used to seeing are typically for nonprofits. So I don't, that's my question for you. Do you want to limit to nonprofits or do you want to allow for-profits and nonprofits?
I just copied Shrewsbury word for word because they were a neighboring town that had a bylaw. So I didn't make any changes. I just copied it.
But I
thought
guess
that was
I'm
a good place to
asking,
start.
I'm asking you folks what your preference is.
I mean, I think the intention of these is to help nonprofits maybe have another source of revenue, or recyclable goods and things like that. I don't necessarily see them as a for-profit business option.
I would be fine with that.
I would
I
be
don't know
fine
how
with
many
limiting it.
for-profits are out there right now. I don't know what is out there in Northborough. I noticed St. Vincent de Paul and
But I
which
can
is a
just
non-
see things starting to, at times getting either misconstrued, and next thing you have is vending machines out there or something, I would be fine with limiting it to nonprofits.
And then Millie, if we limit it to nonprofits, are we then charging a license fee or no?
I would wrestle with that a little bit. There's a maintenance issue, there's probably an insurance issue, there could be who's responsible for if somebody hits it. There's got to be some offset for liability.
Also, there
Somebody
is
sets fire
work.
to one.
There is work associated with it, so
Right.
There
it's
is.
gonna
so
require staff time to
shovel around it.
manage this permit.
You get a, snow blow, clear around it. I do think there should be some. But I don't know what that number would be, and maybe that's something the select board could determine.
Okay. I'm good with
Yeah,
that.
cool. I'm good with that.
Me too.
And
Card.
just to make sure we're clear with like the nonprofit, that's who is collecting the donation bin, not where it's located, or is it,
Correct.
So the beneficiary of the goods would be a nonprofit.
So I wonder if a church was collecting for, to make money for, I don't know if that would hurt them. I don't know if there are any churches that have a bin and they get paid for having that bin. If this affects them, but I truly don't know.
Well, the beneficiary would be the church, which is by nature a nonprofit.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I don't know. Would it be like possible within something like this to have the fee be like a percentage of how much money they're made for the year versus a flat fee, or like percentage up to a certain amount instead of, because again, I don't know
That's
how much.
gonna be really
Yeah.
hard to calculate because remember, they're going through the permitting process before they place the bin, so they have no idea how much money they're gonna make.
Yeah.
Are the bins generally the same size? Is it a pretty standard size? Some of them I've seen seem pretty big lately.
So I did put that in the amendments that I made.
Okay,
So it would specify no larger than 6 feet in height
okay,
and shall not exceed 3 cubic yards in size.
okay.
Okay, I noticed a member of the audience has their hand up, so, Lisa, could you state your name and address?
There you go. You can hear me. I'm talking on my phone because my computer would not zoom in.
We
Um,
can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Lisa Maselli, 13 Maple Street. The bins basically are owned by a company, CMRK, that resides at Railroad Drive. They place the bins on the schools and in other areas, and the PTOs are given a flat fee for the placement on the schools to be able to use toward the PTO needs. So that the company that owns it, CMRK, is a company for profit. They also own St. Vincent de Paul's and Big Brothers and Big Sisters. They have bought up most of the other companies that used to have these type of bins that used to then pass on the clothes to other individuals. What this company does is collect the clothes as material, and the material is stored and then sent off to where it's reused in other, whether they melt it down or they do something else with it, but it doesn't go toward any individual like in the old days. So when you see the bins, they belong to the company CMRK. And in some cases, the schools have been asked if they can place them on the property, and that's kind of like the spiff that they get per month. They don't do anything with weight or whatever, and they're required to take care of them on the property. What I've seen lately is that, and especially just even on Route 9, the restaurant that used to be the Mexican restaurant now has 4 on the property, and there's nobody on that property at this point. It's been abandoned for quite some time. So I don't know who they asked whether or not they could put it on, but again, it's a product. It's a vehicle for them to collect a product to be able to utilize to make money. So what I would personally do is think that they would be licensed to have the bins, and that the people who wanted to use them to be able to make some money, such as the schools, would probably be the ones to pull the permits. And the price would probably be higher for the business to have license, like a license. I'm sure there's license charges. And then having, if it's on a property, the permit allows the bin to be on the property. Is that helpful?
I think so, but now you're saying a license and a permit.
Well, right, because there's two different individuals. You've got the owner of the bins, and you've got the people who are allowing the bins to be put on the property. So there's two different things going on, because that $600 is given to them by the for-profit company. So there are two different things going on. It's not like you can buy t-shirts and put your name on them and resell the t-shirts. You're not creating a product yourself to which you make money.
I see,
So
Lori, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I did, one of the modifications that I made does specify that the permit cannot be, so this is on the top of page 3. No person or operator to whom a permit has been issued shall transfer, assign, or convey such permit to another person or operator. So that means if you get a permit for a specific site, and then say the company is purchased by another, the bin is purchased by somebody else, then the permit doesn't transfer to that individual. It stays with the person who originally got the permit. I haven't seen in my research where it's a two-step process where they get licensed and then they get permits as well. It's either one or the other from what I've seen.
I agree. In a way, when I looked too, it was one or the other. There was only one fee.
well, how do you handle it with the company that's making the money is a for-profit company?
Correct, but the money is given to a charity.
Oh, well, it's
So-
it's almost like a rental fee, because the product that's put on and in the bins is what CMRK uses to make their money. So they give like a rental fee to the PTO for having it on the school property. But the school has to say, yes, you can have it on the property because it's still municipal property.
I think when
Yeah.
they post it, they get paid per pound. That changed. They used to say, okay, Z School had 500 pounds, so we get $50. And
Yeah, I think it has. When I talked to somebody a few years ago, they got $600. Just
Yeah.
that was it, just a straight fee. It may have changed. I haven't looked into that part.
Maybe we look into how they do it. We can talk to someone at the school that does it.
So
I
it's my
think-
understanding, like at a town transfer station. So my familiarity with Millbrae's transfer station is that various organizations would place bins on the town property. And then, so there is the town that owns the land. Then there's the operator who manages the bin. And then there's the recipient, the benefactor of the money, and that is a nonprofit. So like in the case of St. Vincent de Paul, St. Vincent de Paul doesn't operate the bin, but they are the beneficiary of the proceeds. So the town does get a nominal amount of money for having the bin on the town property. But the bulk of the proceeds goes not to the town, it goes to St. Vincent de Paul. That's my understanding of how it works.
It's pretty much the same thing where the bulk of the material goes to the CMRK master company. So St. Vincent de Paul no longer takes the clothes and gives them anywhere. That company's been bought up by CMRK.
Well, I have a friend that actually volunteers for St. Vincent,
Mhm.
and she's really big into it, so I can ask her tomorrow.
Oh, it'd
She
be great.
knows, she's
Yeah.
in charge of it,
Okay.
so I
My-
could get some more information.
I think it's great to get more information. I have one question, and then I'll let you get back to your conversation. When it's in public areas or areas that are not like abandoned property, like the restaurant, how does it get put there? They just drop it, and then if nobody says you have to take it away, it just stays there?
I think
this would fix
sometimes
that.
that happens. Yeah, because we don't have a bylaw. So I think sometimes that happens, and if the owner doesn't complain, then they don't get any money out of it, and they just have a bin on their property.
This would
Okay.
fix that because the way the Shrewsbury one was written, I think this one is now too. When they apply for their license, they get a sticker on the bin and it'll have the year, so it's licensed. So if there's one out there just thrown out there and there's no sticker that they have a license for this year, there should be a phone number on the bin also, and that it should be able to call it and have it picked up. So if you see some on vacant lots, the town would have an enforcement action to be able to call whoever has the bin and have them come get it. So hopefully that this bylaw will solve the problem of the bins being dropped randomly in town.
Well, I like what you're doing, and keep it up. I will let you to it. Thank you, everyone.
All right, thanks. Okay, so I can talk to my friend at St. Vincent de Paul and then we can try to figure out if it should be a license or a permit. But that's what Shrewsbury's did say, they had a sticker. So when that's what that also pays for, the little fee, then they put the sticker on the bin to know that they're licensed. And if it was easier or cheaper, I was thinking we could have the license do it every 2 or 3 years, but I think it's easier to do every year because you'd lose track on who started when. But there really shouldn't be that many bins, so hopefully it won't be that much of a lift. Once it gets going. Say if there's like 10 in town, then they get 10 applications a year. I wonder if it could go through the town clerk, just like the dog licenses. Not that they want it, but it could go out like you get your dog license with your census every year. They could send, oh no, everybody doesn't need an application for that, so.
I wonder if the whole thing could just go through the building inspector. So instead of involving the select board, it just goes straight to the building inspector. I don't know if he'd be open to that. I know he's already overworked.
Yeah, well, it would probably be his admin staff, right? That would do the licensing. He would be in charge of enforcement. So I guess that'd be a question more for his staff. Could they handle doing the licensing? Hopefully. And it's once a year, so hopefully. Okay. So it sounds like Lori's gonna send out the clean version. We'll have the marked up version, the clean version. And then if you could send it to the ZBA too, that would be great. Maybe just the clean version.
Amy, you do have another hand up in the
Oh, sure.
attendee.
Okay, thanks. Hi, could you state your name and address? Suzanne?
You're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
We can.
Okay, Susie Sislika, 8 Emerson Road. I just wanted to clarify the PTOs. We do receive, I don't know if there's an initial rental fee that we paid, but we do get paid by the weight and we get paid monthly. I sent Amy, I don't have the general planning board email, but I sent it to you and Lori and Millie because I had those like easy on hand in my email ready to go. So we get paid monthly, and all the schools that are listed, you can see how much we do get paid. And it goes up and down, like spring cleaning, it's higher, but you can see in the fall, like, you know, the different months and everything. Melican gets the mass, like the mass majority is for me. I just want to say that. But so that's you know, it's a big income for the PTO, and then sometimes we do drives where we'll encourage, like, let's do an extra drive, and you can arrange for the company to come out with a truck like on a Saturday if we're doing the spring fair or whatever. At the elementary schools, they've done that too. But it is so like $150 if you look at a month. That could be like, for some of the schools, that could be a whole month. So, you know, that's a big chunk of what, you know, they get. And when you're looking at how much the PTOs do, so that income could pay for a teacher's grant, and you're talking about like, that could be like the library's new curriculum, like a new set of books, or, you know, like maybe a whiteboard. This is what they're paying for now. Like, they're paying for whiteboards, they're paying for like, you know, the sound things for the desks, they're paying for new toys for the castle room, like to keep the kids busy. They're paying for, I'm just trying to think of things that we approved this year. We're paying for enrichment to come in. We're paying for the buses. Like, the schools can't afford to pay for the buses for field trips, so we pay for the buses. So any dollar that we get from textiles is basically like used. So I would ask if it can be no fee for the schools, if you would consider that the schools are part of the municipality, and just keep that in mind. Because we pay for, I mean, even our gym floors are refinished by the Basketball Association. So, so that, which is a separate nonprofit from us. So the gym floors are redone by basketball, not even the school district. So,
you.
so if you see any fundraisers for the PTO, please, please participate. Or you see me advertising for any fundraisers, participate. But that's basically, I just wanted to put a plug. Or if you're getting rid of any textiles, bring them to one of the PTO bins. But I mean, the fees, like you said, like, we don't know where some of those bins pop up. You know, the ones in the random parking lots. If it's not on, you know, if it's not on a nonprofit's parking lot, like, you don't know where it came from or anything.
Right.
But so I sent you both two charts. So one is 1 month, and then I found another chart. So it's just like, just so you can see the 2 months, but that's the email I just sent.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I took a quick look. Thank you, Susie.
Yeah, I don't know when they got them or anything, but that's just some of the things that we've done. They take like sneakers, they take pillows, and they're very good. The company is very good, and they have signs saying like they won't take the bags if they're on the ground. They're very regular in schedule. It's a great company to work with. So that's the information that I have on. I don't know the name of the company offhand, but that's the information on the company.
Okay, thanks. We'll
Yep.
share it with the rest of the board.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susie.
Bye.
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 So I think, Laura, you did have that municipal and churches were exempt, so we could do municipal schools. I don't know if would schools be under municipal
Mm-hmm.
or exempt?
Yeah,
Unless
the
they're
schools would be under
private
the
schools.
municipal umbrella.
Okay.
But if it's a private school,
If it's a public school, it's under the municipal umbrella. If it's a private school, it is not.
right,
Okay.
I think that should be distinguished. Yeah.
Yeah. And the way she has it right now, it's municipal and churches were exempt.
Uh-huh.
So, all right. Any other questions? We can review that for the next meeting or for the meeting in January. Okay. So the last bylaw that we have on the list Oh, no, there's two more. So the storage bin one, I haven't heard back yet from Lori or Bob, so we won't talk about that one tonight. The last one on the list is the open space residential development. And Lori or Carter, can you explain? Maybe you can pull it up.
Yeah, I have it
Explain it.
right here, so just bear with me a minute. Everybody see that? Alrighty, so Carter and I sat down together to talk about how we would like to see this changed. And we are happy to receive feedback from you folks. So purposes, we didn't make any changes under applicability. We did want to increase the applicability to cover the residential C in the downtown neighborhood district. And the reason why we included those is because there are parcels of land that exceed 5 acres in size. So some of the other districts didn't have any parcels that were that large that are developable. So that's why they were not included. So also under applicability, change this from being a special permit process to a site plan approval process. So the idea is that site plan approval is less scary for a developer because it isn't discretionary. So essentially what you're saying is that as long as you abide by our regulations that are specified in this bylaw, you will be approved. So the way it reads currently is that you may jump through all these extra hoops and you may get approved or you may not get approved. And we could, deny you for really an arbitrary reason. So that's kind of scary because there are some additional costs that come from going through the permitting process for an OSRD versus a conventional subdivision process. So essentially, under the OSRD process, you have to do a preliminary plan for a conventional subdivision as well as a site plan for this other type of development. So it's essentially double the work. So this applicability section also allows condominium type development. So and then this was something that Carter wanted to add. In the blue is Carter's notes, in the red is my notes. The planning board may grant a special permit for an OSRD on less than 5 acres, provided the development includes at least 2 dwelling units and at least 1 acre of common open space. So I know in conversations with Carter, that was because he wanted to make sure that we weren't making it more difficult and kind of taking away something that is currently allowed. And Carter, if I worded that incorrectly, feel free to jump in.
Yeah, that's about right.
I have a question about the condo part. What does that mean?
So sometimes an OSRD, what they may decide that they want to do is they may want to do like a duplex development, and I have quite a bit of familiarity with that. Or they could do like a cottage development, so small single-family homes, and all of the land would be owned in common. So they wouldn't have individual yards per se, although they may have areas that are kind of like identified as belonging to a specific unit. But it wouldn't have like lot lines. So it wouldn't be like a single building on a single lot. So it could be like 20 buildings on a single parcel. Sometimes what they do is they allocate some amount of land to like the development itself. And then they may carve out the open space as a separate parcel and then convey that open space to either a conservation land trust or the Conservation Commission. And so they don't have to worry about maintaining it. Instead, it would be maintained by the Conservation Commission. So usually in that case, it's like wetlands or it's like a combination of wetlands and forest where there's very little maintenance, but there may be the interest in having like a woodland trail and like a little trailhead and like a gravel parking lot. And that would be maintained by, say, the Trails Committee.
And who pays the taxes on that property?
So in that case, if it's conveyed to the Conservation Commission, then there are no taxes. If it is owned by the homeowners association, then it's taxed at whatever its use is. So if there is a conservation restriction on the property that says that it can't be developed in perpetuity, but it's owned by the homeowners association, then they would pay a very nominal amount of taxes. And actually I did a bunch of research and I forgot to send you folks the articles. Happy to send you some articles where we were talking about at the last meeting what the impact to the tax rate is of having conservation land. And so I will send that to you folks tomorrow. But essentially, the even though it may be a condo that where they don't own the land is owned in common. Generally, the price of the condo is not diminished. Oftentimes it's higher because of the proximity to permanently protected open space. And I can show you the studies that reflect that. Should we move on?
I'm a little confused on the, can you point out at some point on the zoning map where these 5-acre parcels might be on downtown and in residential C?
Sure, if you
But I'm also confused on a few things that are in blue on 2B and C.
let me
I'll also just point out, I actually have to leave in about 10 minutes. Just so if there's a question about my thing, like my comments, I can maybe try to answer those quickly.
So on 2B, attached single-family dwelling greater than 4 dwelling units per structure. I'm confused on that.
So I mean, we limit in the by right one, that'd be at like a townhouse, so attached single family dwelling unit up to 4 units per structure. If they wanted more than that, they would need a special permit.
But you mean 4 units per structure for an attached single-family dwelling that is greater than 4 units per structure? I'm not
you don't really see it, honestly.
I'm not really sure what that looks like.
I haven't personally seen townhouses that have more than 4 units. But
But the
this
attached single
this
family,
could
but
be,
yeah.
yeah, so like up at Avalon, they have some 4-unit townhouses. I haven't seen, I can't think of any examples of more than 4. But of course, I do know of multifamilies. It's usually garden style apartments that can have more than 4 units per structure.
Okay.
So why don't we move on and then I can get back to
Yeah.
the map after Carter leaves.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so you just went into the use regulations. So what we're proposing right now, it only allows detached single-family dwellings. So the proposal is to increase the variety of residential uses allowed. So by right, it would be cottage dwellings. And so those are small, single-family homes under, I believe it's 1,800 square feet that are on 5,000 square foot lots. Two-family dwellings, attached single-family dwellings, up to 4 dwelling units per structure. And then the special permit options would be multifamily, maxed out at 6 dwelling units per structure. I wonder if you just want to delete the attached single-family dwellings. Like I said, I don't remember seeing any that have more than 4 units. And then we were talking about a clubhouse or other indoor recreational or social amenities that would serve the community itself.
Mm-hmm.
So the next section talks about waiving the minimum lot dimensional requirements. And then there are minimum standards put forth. So no lot for a cottage or single-family dwelling shall contain less than 5,000 square feet of area. No lot for two-family or attached single-family dwelling containing 3 or 4 units shall contain less than 75 square feet of land area. And then the frontage is also, there's minimum of 50 for single and two-family and minimum of 100 feet of frontage for other. And then dwelling units within an OSRD shall have a minimum front setback of 15 feet. So we looked at the dimensional chart to see what the minimum setback requirement was in the town in those districts, and it was 15 feet. So we kept to that. If we're in a circumstance where we have multiple residential buildings on a single lot, so that's a condo style development, then the dwelling units would have to be a minimum of 20 feet apart. That's what the fire department likes to see. And then the height would be the same as it currently is. Then there would be an open space buffer. The proposal is to increase the buffer. Right now it's 50 feet, but we'd increase it to 75 feet and allow a waiver. And then instead of doing the straight mathematical equation, this is based on a yield analysis. So essentially it's a preliminary plan that also has to demonstrate compliance with the wetlands bylaw and health codes. So that means Title V. So they would set the basic maximum number of dwelling units that can be accommodated on the parcel by a conventional layout. So if your base maximum number in a conventional subdivision is 100 units, then that's all you get. You don't get 105, you don't get 110, you just get 100 units. So you can cluster them together, but in the end, you get the same number of units. So then we increased the amount of open space set aside. So instead of it being 35%, it's 50%. And then Carter wanted to put in this language that says that the planning board may grant a special permit for the 35% if it's creates a better quality project. So we provide some flexibility there. Then the next change is to G. We just replaced all, wherever it said special permit to site plan review.
Go get it.
I'm sorry?
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. I
I
can't.
think Susie, you're not muted. Oh, she just muted.
All right. I'm like, who's talking? I don't recognize your voice. All right. So then the yield analysis. Once again, the proponent shall submit a yield analysis that is consistent with the preliminary plan. So getting rid of the mathematical equation that really doesn't take into account the unique attributes of a parcel. So now it's parcel specific through the preliminary plan process. All right, keep going, keep going. So of course, under B, eliminated the reference to the special permit and put in the reference to the OSRD. I'm sorry, to the site plan approval criteria. And also put in the reference to definitive plan approval process. So now that we have added the residential C and the downtown neighborhood district, those districts are largely sewered. So we included language that says that the OSRD as a whole shall be served by an appropriate sewer connection. And then once again, change to site plan approval. And we got rid of the density bonus that was discussed at the last meeting. Of course, we could put it back in, but it's kind of unnecessary at this point because we've already increased the minimum open space set aside from 35% to 50%. So no longer do we have to give them an incentive. We're just saying now you're going to give us 50%. So happy to get feedback, answer any questions.
Is there any incentive? Well, first of all, how long have we had the open space residential development?
I'm not sure, but certainly it has been in the zoning bylaw since it was rewritten in 2010.
And has anybody ever used it?
Not to my knowledge, which is why I think we have to encourage them to use it.
Right, so I guess what is, this seems like a complicated process. What is to stop somebody from just saying, I would rather just sell 5 single-family lots than go through something with all of this? These are a lot of hoops for somebody to go through.
So the incentive is that you get to cluster together, which means that less area of land disturbance, shorter roads, shorter utilities. So the construction costs are less with an OSRD. And right now we took away the disincentive, which is the special permit. We made it a by right process. So it's less scary for developers to go this route. Definitely, if there was a density bonus, then you'd be incentivizing even more.
And that was,
So, you know, I know Carter and I had talked about, and he had sent me, and Carter, I didn't respond because I read it right before this meeting. But one of the things that he was particularly interested in is providing an incentive for preserving historic landscapes. Like, I know there's a historic home that has been discussed by the Open Space Committee. They're interested in saving I guess it's the oldest residential building in the town of Northborough. And the original property owners have passed away, and now the heirs want to divide up the property. And there was concern about what would happen to this historic farmhouse. So one of the things that we could do is put in incentives for the preservation of the historic farmhouse, or maybe a historic barn, or, an agricultural landscape, or, something, maybe there's something else that we would really want to incentivize that they save.
Yeah, and I think, this goes in that right direction, but you just don't want to make it so complicated that people don't bother with it. People, if they want to develop their property, they kind of want to know what's going to be the best return on their investment. I do think adding more incentives is helpful, and whether that comes in the form of density or even historic preservation, I think that would be, I wouldn't, I wouldn't shoot that down right away. I'd like to look at that.
And Carter, do you want to speak to the specific incentives that you were thinking of?
Yeah, let me see if I can pull up the,
Do you want me to stop sharing?
actually, I don't know if would it be easier just if you pull it up, or?
Do you have it already on your screen?
I don't have it
I have
open.
to search for
Yeah.
it.
Let me see.
I can see if I can find it. I'm gonna stop sharing while I look.
I mean, the other concern that I have, or question I have, is the use and the purpose of the open space is to, encourage agricultural, wildlife, natural habitat, and things like that. When you mention things like what you and I might have in mind for a nice agricultural endeavor might not be so enjoyable to the neighbors. If you have a chicken, coops and things like that, or livestock or horses, it's a very different vibe in a downtown or a effectively more clustered area.
I just had a question for Carter and Lori. What is the main goal of these changes? Is it to preserve open space, or is it to promote housing? What was the main goal?
Oh, for me, Carter, you go first.
I mean, I was saying, I think it's more creating different ways of, or not really creating different ways, it's encouraging different kinds of housing and different ways to build housing that are more flexible and preserve more open space. So it would protect the character of the town, as well as just so that the changes are mostly intended to eliminate some of the hoops that are currently with the OSRD, to again allow any of the purpose of the current OSRD, but it's not being used because there's a special permit process and it's kind of a complicated process. But hopefully by making it a little bit easier to do this without the special permit, then people would be more inclined to, when houses are being built in town, to do it in a way that also is protecting open space.
Yeah, and for me, I have experience with OSRD type bylaws, and some of them have the smaller percentage open space set aside, more of the 35%. And in those circumstances, the open space really wasn't usable because it tended to be too small and fragmented. and oftentimes encompassed a lot of wetlands. So it was kind of like the junk land that wasn't developable anyway. Whereas increasing the open space set aside to 50%, I think gives a greater chance that you will have usable open space. And by usable, I mean like valuable. So it will have, you know, habitat values and water quality benefits that, and also benefits in the preservation of the character of the landscape. Above and beyond what 35% will give you. And, you know, the traditional development, of course, we have all those screwy shaped lots that have propped up in the more rural parts of town that now aren't going to be possible because of the odd shaped lot factor. So this, I think, will provide an incentive to do something other than that, you know? So instead of doing, you know, screwy A&R lots, they could do a really nice development project where the lots are small, the roads are shorter, and you can really get the value for the homeowners and you know, the abutters of that open space that has existed in such a, you know, forested, beautiful parcel for decades and decades. And so instead of it just be, you know, belonging to a single property owner, now it could be enjoyed by multiple people.
So we're gonna allow like public to walk down people's driveways and use trails behind a little
No.
development?
No, oftentimes the open space is separated. So it's abutting the land within the development, but not everybody necessarily is a direct abutter to it. And usually there's just like a trailhead with like a small parking area that's informal. And so it's not something that, you know, hundreds of people are going to use. It may just be the people in the development and the direct abutters. And it might just be, you know, a few trails. It might just be 10 acres of land, which really doesn't afford a gigantic trail network. Or it could just be like a playing field or a little tot lot that folks in the development will be able to enjoy. So they would have the option of letting the public access the open space or not. That would be part of the permitting process, part of the negotiation.
I
Meeting?
do have to get going in like a
Okay.
minute or so, but I don't know if anyone had any questions about what we just put up with that.
I will have some questions on that, but we can address them next time because the
Okay.
Historic District Commission doesn't really have some of the oversight or purview to grant these approvals.
Okay.
But we can, you know, talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Hi, Carter. Thank
Hi,
you.
Carter.
To me, I have major concerns. I think it's a big change to go to away from special permit. I think every parcel is different and every situation has to be looked at differently. I think going by right is going to be a developer's dream and the town's nightmare. Like, this is a big change to add in all those different types of housing that we saw over and over again in the master plan that people didn't want. And then we also are, you know, going away from special permits, so we couldn't deny it if it didn't really add anything. I mean, you look at that one parcel on Hudson Street, that's 14 acres, it's all ledge. But now, that wouldn't be part of the situation. Now they could build houses and they'd be developing more. So I feel like some of it we'd have actually less open space because now we're going to open up all these avenues to development. And I thought the original goal was for open space, but I feel like this is just adding in loopholes
But
to,
remember, it's density neutral. So,
right,
so let's pretend that you have a gigantic parcel of land where you could build on 100 homes, 100 single-family homes. So that 100 single-family homes would be spread over the entirety of the parcel. So the entirety of the parcel would consist of roads, house lots, and that's it. Detention basins, I suppose, and that's it. Under this configuration, so let's pretend that we're talking about a duplex development. So let's make it easy on ourselves and say 100 acres of land. So under scenario 1, we get 100 homes on 100 acres of land. So the town gets nothing out of this except the responsibility for maintaining all of those roads and the associated utilities, and then, all of the other services that is needed for those 100 homes. Okay, so let's look at an OSRD that allows duplexes. So you still have 100 dwellings, but instead of having 100 structures, now you have 50 structures. So now you have 50 acres of permanently protected open space, and then you have the 50 structures aggregated on the remaining 50 acres of land. So now you have shorter roads for the town to maintain. You have fewer utilities for the town to maintain. So you just decreased your costs. So you just decreased the burden on the tax base that way. Of course, the open space, let's assume it goes to the Conservation Commission. So that's neutral. It's not generating any taxes, but it's not costing in services either. So then let's pretend that instead of it being duplexes, we're talking about triplexes. So now you have 100 units instead of being spread on 50 acres of land. Now you have them spread on, say, 33 acres of land. So now you have, oh gosh, what do you have? 77 67 acres of permanently protected open space. Then you even have shorter utilities and shorter roadways to serve those units. So you're not really losing. You're just saving money by going with the more compact development because you have even more open space. You see what I'm saying?
right, but it doesn't take into account ledge and topography. Like,
It
think of up
does,
in,
because remember that you have to demonstrate. So there are already in that open space community bylaw,
Mhm.
there's already a whole bunch of design standards for the open space. So let me share that again.
I just know I
So-
wouldn't go away from special permit because I looked at surrounding towns like Westboro and Medway, who I always use as an example, and they all have special permits.
Well, I can tell you that in Millbury, we used to have a special permit process, and then we changed it to a site plan approval process. And while I was there were 2 OSRDs approved through that process. So essentially, Some of it is the planning board. It's the selling of it. So what the planning board would tell people who wanted to file a subdivision is they would say, we don't want you to do a conventional subdivision. We want you to do an open space community, because that's what it was called in Millbury. And so they would do it because they want to do what the planning board wants them to do. You know, they want to get through this process as painlessly as possible. And the site plan approval process has the very same submittal requirements as the special permit process did. So you can see what is required, site plan approval procedures, application requirements. It's exactly the same.
So
I'd like to go through the an activity of downtown, that parcel on Hudson Street. Because it's very steep ledge, so they've never developed it. So now it's all open space. The animals are free to roam. But given this scenario, they probably would develop it.
Well, they have to
With-
demonstrate how many units they can get under a conventional subdivision, like I said, in full conformance with the regulations.
Right, but you
So-
probably could. You could say, I'm gonna do a road and I'm gonna blast ledge and I'm gonna do this. But it doesn't mean they have to do it. They're not gonna do it because it would be too expensive.
But how is
And,
that different? How is that different if it's an OSRD or whether it's a open space community?
Well,
Like
because
you're,
then,
you're still having the same number of units.
no,
Remember,
because they're probably not gonna do it. They haven't yet, so, but if this comes forward, then they would. So now
why
we're
would
gonna
they
have,
though?
well, because they would do it because they don't have to blast ledge to build a road anymore. They just have to show that it could be done, not that they wouldn't be done. Do you know how many, like, I think Millie had asked, how many parcels, if we added RC in downtown neighborhood, how many parcels are over 5 acres? And actually,
In the downtown neighborhood, there's only one.
okay,
So there is the, can't remember the address. The parcel that's split, part of it's in downtown neighborhood and the other part is in the MSR district.
mhm,
So that's the one that we included within the multifamily
Oh, the mall.
overlay district.
Yeah.
So remember, that allows 15 units per acre.
right,
But it's the portion that was in the downtown neighborhood district, well, the total parcel size is 10 acres, but it's split.
Yeah.
So whether it would meet 5 acres in downtown neighborhood or not, I don't know. I'd have
Yeah.
to see a survey.
Do you know how many RC though that are over 5? There must be a lot.
But let me pull up the map. I mean, I can't tell you off the top of my head.
I
But
just know in the past, when we did changes in zoning, there was a lot of, you do impact analysis, like we ask our developers to do, like, what is the impact on our municipal services going to be if all of a sudden all these 5-acre parcels develop out?
yes, but remember, they can develop out today.
But they haven't,
It's density neutral, so we're not giving them any freebies.
right?
So let me share my screen.
I just know in the past, this cluster development had been used where the developers use the portion that they can develop near the road. And then they break off the open space and conservation it to the town. So now they're not paying taxes on it anymore. So now I feel like it's
Well,
almost a loss for the town as far as revenue.
but it doesn't really work out that way because of the value is with the home. So the value is with the structure. And actually, the reports that I will send you show that the value of the home that abuts permanently protected open space is higher than the value of the identical home in a conventional subdivision. So you're not losing anything because the value is with the home, not with the land. But anyway, this is the zoning map, which shows the extent of the residential C district. So I'd have to go through, work with the assessor's office to identify how many of these parcels are not permanently protected already and 5 acres or more in area.
Does anyone
I-
else have?
I do understand the point of the residential C. I'm a little bit hung up on the downtown element. I like
And I'm
the-
not married to the downtown neighborhood, honestly. It was just, there's one parcel that has that, 5 acres,
Yeah.
10 acres, and there's one that has like 13 acres. But if you want to get rid of it in downtown neighborhood, then I'm fine with that, honestly. I was on the border on that one to begin with. I do think it's important to include the residential C district because it's just such a significant portion of town.
Yeah.
And there are lots of areas that have sewer service that can handle the density. And wouldn't it be great to be able to preserve some of these large parcels of lands? I think it would go far to preserve the community character. And once again, it's density neutral. So the question that you have to ask yourself is, do you want to have the 100 acres of land totally carved into home lots and roadways, or do you want to get something out of it? And what you would get out of it is 50 acres or 66 acres of permanently protected open space. And then you have the same number of units.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
look
I guess-
at,
Oh, sorry, Amy. My other question, and that it relates back to the special permit versus site plan approval, is we really haven't had any interest in this open space residential design. So do you think it's because it's a special permit process, or do you think people aren't aware of it? And if that's the case, how do you make more people aware of it? And does that need a special permit, or does that, change it, whether it's special permit or site plan? I'm not sure that what we're trying to do will really change anything. So I'd hate to go through all this effort and still be in the same situation because we didn't address the real problem.
Well, I think part of the real problem is that we've allowed all of these screwy looking A&R lots. So definitely it's much easier to do these absolutely screwy A&R lots than it is to do a subdivision. So that's why you're getting so many A&R lots. So in other communities that you wouldn't get that number of A&R lots, you would get subdivisions because they wouldn't be able to create those odd shapes. So in order to get the number of lots that they want, they'd be forced into the subdivision process. And so this is an alternative to the conventional subdivision, which I don't really see the value to the community. It's not preserving community character. It's not safeguarding water quality or quantity. It's just spreading out houses along all of the open space parcels in town.
But we can't get those screwy lots anymore because there's that formula, correct? So
Correct.
that kind of takes that piece out of that problem that you're concerned about.
Correct. So I suspect that we're going to start seeing more subdivisions now.
Okay.
Except for almost that build out, there aren't that many parcels left. At least that's what we were told like 20 years ago with the original master plan.
Do
Well,
you see all of that land? We are nowhere near build out.
Well,
Nowhere
the
near.
RA right now, it's 2-acre lots. So what? That's, you know,
We are nowhere near. So I grew up in the town of Milton. And the town of Milton is a densely developed community.
Mhm.
And when I was a teenager, what they would do is they would pick up houses, they would move them over or demolish them, depending upon the value. And then they would put in a roadway to access the woodland in between the lots. So when you drive along the roadway, you would think that the neighborhood was built out because you couldn't see the woodland in between the lots. But then they fixed that. So, you know, they'd purchase homes on large lots, demolish the homes, and then build 4 or 5 or 6 houses in its place. So I'm telling you, the town of Northborough has a huge amount of developable land, especially in the RA district, in the RB district.
if
You've
we
got the
change
golf
zoning,
courses.
if we change zoning, but if zoning stays the same, then it's less. What I wanted to say is that I did look at surrounding towns like Westboro and Medway and even Harvard, because that's where we went to that class. Harvard brought in that person to run the class on the open space residential district, so I wanted to see what they did. They developed an open space residential district that only included their farms. So it doesn't include any other residential building in their town except for the farms. So with the residential over this district, you can have it in RA, RB, RC, you can have it just on the farms. There was one, Medway had it where it was in their, I don't know, certain residential districts that bordered water. They
Mhm.
named different brooks.
Yep.
So it was very specific on the areas. And all the other towns I looked at, the minimum was 10-acre lots. Like it wasn't 5-acre lots, it was 10-acre lots to build these subdivisions. But they were very specific. And in Medway, they allowed single family and duplexes only. They didn't go to multifamily. And in Westboro, with the open space residential, they allow it, I think it was in, I have it written down, they have it on 10 acres in residential districts by special permit, but it's only with the same type of housing that's in the district. So if it's single family, it stays single family. If they allow duplexes, then they allow duplexes, but it didn't change their density per district. And
Well,
I found that
we can keep the bylaw as is. I just don't think anybody's going to use it. I mean, it's not. What I'm trying to do is protect community character and open space. The development is going to happen regardless. This isn't encouraging development to occur where it wouldn't otherwise occur. It's providing an alternative to the land consumptive method of development that occurs in Northborough today, which is the A&R lots and the conventional subdivisions where every foot of open space is dedicated to either house lots or roadways. There's nothing else. That is the way Northborough builds today. This is an alternative which says okay, we recognize that you can build 100 homes on this 100 acres of land. We would like to get something out of it to preserve our community character. We would like to get some permanently protected open space. You can help us with that. It'll be a win-win. You save money on development costs, and we get permanently protected open space that we can enjoy at no cost to the town. So that's what we're talking about. That's the trade-off.
Mm-hmm.
When I was thinking about the lots up near Mount Pisgah, Mount Pisgah is all preserved. The lots across the street and down the streets, they're all 2-acre lots. And the houses may be spread out, but I think they like it that way. But they're all 2-acre lots with one house on it. So I see that as most of the land is being preserved because the animals walk back there and the wildlife are still back there. Just because there's one house on 2 acres doesn't mean that it's not, you know, preserved for the animals. Like right now, we can only cover what 50% of the lot size. If we give the special permit to go down to 35% open space, they're now allowed to cover 65% of the lot size, which is more than that's what's currently allowed on a single family lot.
I think she's
No.
got it backwards.
So you have 50 acres of permanently protected open space. That's what that means.
50%.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So instead of having 2-acre lots, you would have, say, 40,000 square foot lots.
But they, it's not permanently protected, but they can't build anything else on it. So the 2-acre lots have, you know, passive recreation on it. Because
But
the
only
animals are back there too.
only for the people who live there.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else
Right.
can go on those parcels.
But across the street is Mount Pisgah that has hundreds of acres. Like, and that's, I don't know. I guess, does anybody else have comments? Those are my comments.
So Amy, quick question. So you were talking about Mount Pisgah and the 2-acre lot. So what's to keep somebody from cutting that lot in half and building another house?
Because they're only allowed one house per 2 acres. So they can't. Unless we change our zoning, they can't build another house there.
Okay.
And I think those were all originally 2-acre lots because of the sewer regulations up there. That's what I was told, is that up north, there's only septics, so we have 2-acre lots. And then as it gets closer to the center of town, the lots get smaller because of the sewer is in downtown area.
Yeah, I don't think it's sewer because I have a 1-acre lot and I have sewer, but and I'm not in those districts.
Okay, it goes up Whitney
I'm
Street.
sure
Probably
I'm
they
sure
ran
there's
it,
some reason, no. Yeah.
probably for the industrial down on Whitney Street, they probably ran it.
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Nope. So, you know, I understand what you're trying to do. I personally think it's a good idea of giving the option. What my concern is, Lori, is what Amy brought up before. So let's use that lot on Hudson Street, right? Can they say, well, we're going to blow that ledge and therefore be able to build on that lot? Would they, or is it, you know, as the lot stands right now, how many houses can you build on it?
So it would be under existing regulations, how many houses can you build? So how many lots? So it takes into account the wetlands bylaw, which says that there's a 35-foot no touch zone. It takes into account, you know, the Rivers Protection Act buffer, which has a 100-foot no touch zone. It takes into account Title V. So they would have to demonstrate how many lots, and then the planning board would have to agree. So that would be part of the site plan approval process. So they would submit a preliminary plan, and then you would ultimately agree that, yes, this is true. we agree with you that you can get 100 homes on that 100-acre piece. And then you agree that that's the basic maximum number, and then they design their site accordingly.
So what happens if we don't agree?
Then
Nothing.
then they can't proceed. So you have to agree. So if they say, well, we think we can get 100 homes, and you say, nope, you can only get 90 homes, then 90 homes is what they get.
You can't
If
deny
they
it
don't,
though.
if they don't, so say you go through the whole process, you get site plan approval and they disagree with you, then they appeal you in court. So there is that appeal process. So then they would have to demonstrate to the judge whether they were right or you were right.
And if
But
they said,
ultimately,
well,
you are the site plan approval authority, so it's what you say goes.
right. But if they say, oh, we can level this mountain or this hill, right, to be able to build more houses on top of that hill. Now, it might not be cost effective, right? But if they say they can do that, what's our recourse? Can we say
Well, it
no
would be,
because it's as the land is now without modifications?
well,
No.
it's the same as it is under the subdivision process today. So, there are certain design standards for roadways. So certainly the planning board has approved projects that may not be buildable. And sometimes those projects aren't built. And sometimes they are.
But I
So,
think to Amy's point, right? If they can say, we agree that it's not fiscally feasible, but we can still, we're still going to say that we're going to do it, whether they do or not, doesn't matter. They can say it. And therefore, we can build 100 units instead of 50.
well, remember, you only have jurisdiction over the roadway. You don't have jurisdiction on how they clear the lots. And what the grade is of the lots, unless you want to pass a bylaw, or you want to put something in this bylaw that says that you don't allow development over of a parcel that's over 25% slope. Right now, we have in our subdivision regulations stipulations on the maximum grades of roadways. That's it. So the same can happen today under a conventional subdivision.
Right. No, I understand that. I get that. But my point here is, and I think Amy's point is that, yeah, but, you're still giving them a benefit, right, on something that they're saying that they can do, but everyone knows that it's not fiscally feasible to do it that way. But now we're giving them a benefit to just saying that they could do something that's not fiscally feasible. That's my concern.
But that's the same situation that exists today.
No, because they wouldn't do it if it wasn't fiscally
Of
feasible.
course, we approve A&R lots for ridiculously sloped lots all the time.
They
Right.
won't be built,
Like
so I feel like
for a perfect example is the scenic road application that was before you just the last meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot was created that didn't have any usable frontage. So now he's trying to find an alternative way to access the buildable portion of the lot. You folks do that this bylaw doesn't change that.
But
You
what
do
you
that
are
all the
doing,
time.
but what
So
you are
if-
doing is you're giving the potential of being able to build more housing on a
No,
lot that they wouldn't have been able to do in a fiscally responsible way.
No, it's density neutral. So you folks have to agree to how many lots exist. So if you don't, if you have a cliff with a 100-foot drop and you don't think that that is buildable, then you tell them, no, we don't believe that those are buildable lots.
And if
And
they
then
say
you
that they would
reduce
take
the
off,
number accordingly on the preliminary plan, the yield plan. That's what I was saying. Right now, this bylaw uses a mathematical equation that does not take into account slopes 1 iota. Under
Right.
the yield plan, you can look at slopes. If you want to add something, so with the section that talks about open space, the open space set aside, the quality of the open space set aside, if you want to add something that talks about slopes,
That's the way other towns do special permit though. Like I look at the decision for Medway, the planning board may grant a special permit and it lists upon finding that the conceptual design and layout of the proposed OSRD is superior to a conventional development in preserving open space for conservation and recreation, preserving natural features of land, and achieving a more efficient provision of streets, utilities, and other public services,
Can,
and providing a high design quality. Like if we don't have a special permit, that person could say, I'm gonna blow up this ledge. Now I'm gonna develop 90 homes there. And your open space is now up on this hill and the ledge that nobody is really gonna access. I just feel like with all the other towns I looked at, they had special permit. And I can see why you want to get away from special permit, but it would be a developer's dream. And it could be a nightmare for the town because this is going to affect our municipal services. If all of a sudden all these lots that weren't developable are now developable by right.
can
but
I
I
ask,
don't understand the difference.
Can-
The submittal requirements are identical under site plan review as they are under special permit. The only thing that you're saying is that by making it site plan review is you're saying, if you abide by these regulations, you will be approved. So if there's something in there that you don't like about steep slopes, then we could put it in the use, shape, and location. So on page 7-3, we can put it under use, shape, and location for the open space. So if your fear is that the open space set aside is going to be a cliff and not usable, then we can add something there that says that no more than, say, 25% of the open space can be slopes exceeding 15% or something like that.
can I just ask a quick question? I think it's a quick question because let's just say, Lori, we have 100 acres. And based on our, let's say 1 acre minimum lot size, we could develop 100 houses on that land. So we have the number of 100 houses, but if we do an open space thing and it turns out that 50% of that is wetlands, now I believe what the concern is, they could put 100 houses because they have 100 acres on the 50 acres.
No,
That's
because
a good-
already, if you look at the design standards for the common open space, it says that the proportion of wetlands in the open space has to be consistent with the proportion of wetlands in the overall site. So say you have 100 acres and 25% of the 100 acres is wetland. Then of the permanently protected open space, only 25% can be wetland. So what that means is that they have to protect more than 50 acres. Because, so So out of the permanently protected open space, so let's pretend the permanently protected open space is 50 acres.
Mhm.
Only a quarter of the 50 acres can be wetlands. Okay, so a quarter of 50 acres is what, 12.5, 12.5?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so instead of protecting 50 acres, now they have to protect 62.5 acres.
But they can't put 100 houses on that 38 acres. Or they can.
They could.
They
They could.
could, but that might force them into, so remember the yield plan. So maybe because there's 25 acres of wetlands, maybe instead of getting 100 units, they can only fit 75 units. Because 25 acres is unbuildable. So now you've got 75 units on the balance of the land. So it would be 100 minus 62.5 acres.
Right, but you just increase, yeah, you just like quadrupled the number you could originally put on that land because you could only put one
No,
house.
no,
You could only
no.
put one, not on the whole land, but that 1 acre. You've definitely,
Yes,
yes, per acre
yes.
usable.
So that's
went
the
from a-
point. So
yeah.
the point of this
Yeah.
OSRD is to preserve open space.
Is to cluster the units.
So that is what you're trying to do.
Uh-huh.
The top objective is the preservation of open space.
So in this
under that
OSRD,
configuration, you are preserving 62.5 acres of open space.
Mhm.
So you have to allow the flexibility to fit the 75 units on the balance of the land.
so according to this bylaw, the lot size goes from 43,000 square feet to 5,000 square feet.
No, not necessarily, because remember, you have to comply with Title V.
Yeah.
So
do
they could do a package septic system if they're in the RA or the RB district, which would allow the lot sizes to get smaller. They could do a condo type development, and then we're not talking about any lots at all. We're just talking about structures being on a single parcel. So either they have to have the septic systems to accommodate those or the packaged sewer treatment. Maybe in that configuration, because they have to fit it on that smaller area. So what is that? 33 acres?
Mm.
So 75 units on 35 acres. They may want to do a mix of single family homes and duplexes. They may want to do a combination of single family duplex and triplexes. I don't know. But they would have the flexibility to determine whatever they want to do. And then you folks would approve it. If it's, of course, we put in those various types of housing for discussion purposes. So if you don't feel comfortable with any of those specific types of housing, then we can just delete them. If you don't feel comfortable with townhouses over 4 units, we'll just delete it. If you don't feel comfortable with multifamily, we'll just delete it. It's just for discussion.
Mhm.
I do notice Brad's hand's been up for probably like an hour. So do you guys mind if I'm gonna let him talk?
Oh,
Brad.
no, I don't mind.
Yeah, how's it going, everybody? Brad Blanchette, 6 Rodney Terrace. I'm also a member of the zoning board. I apologize for not being able to attend the previous meeting, which you invited us to. I was at a basketball game, but I got caught up on the previous meeting, and I've been listening for the past hour or so. And I mean, I do have a lot of concerns. The same concerns that Amy and Bill mentioned. I mean, to just have a drastic change in a bylaw like this, there needs to be some stopgaps. I mean, at a minimum, there needs to be a special permit. We need to see what kind of developments and what kind of plans are coming in. And when I think of Northborough, I think of Northborough in the same breath as Harvard, Westboro, Medway, 495 Belt, inside Worcester. And so I think we should follow what they're doing just to get an idea of what kind of plans are coming in. And going back to master plan results, going back to the meeting that ZBA, Planning Board, and Select Board had last December, one of the things that has been made abundantly crystal clear is that housing is not a priority. And the way I'm interpreting this is just another way to get high dense housing, more alternative housing into the town. And going through the master plan results, the housing types with the most growth since 2000 have been condos, multi-houses, apartments. And the meeting that we had with the boards, I think close to 60% were opposed or strongly opposed to housing because of what they're going to do to our municipal services. I know we talked about shorter roads, shorter utilities, but it's a fact that single family homes are the largest generator of tax revenue. There's no question about that. And everyone moves to Northborough. I've been here for 40 years. The school system is our golden ticket. It's our gravy train, if you will. And just having these more high dense homes, I'm not buying the fact that it's not going to impact the schools and our municipal services. And Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, but and Amy too, looking at some of these parcels of land that we're talking about, I mean, if 10 acres is unbuildable, but 3 acres is buildable, these developers have deep pockets. They have a whole bunch of resources more than we have. They'll find a way to maximize those 3 acres of land and to get as much housing as possible onto that parcel of land. So I think this does open it up to a developer's bonanza or a developer's dream, Amy, as you said. And the fact that this bylaw hasn't been utilized as is today, and housing is not a priority, and I didn't see a whole lot about open space being a major priority. What's the impetus behind updating this bylaw? Is there a project coming, or has a developer approached the town about a potential project? And is that what drove this change? And the last piece is, I don't understand why we want to make it easier for developers to come in and develop our land. I think our bylaws and the character of this town state, we don't want overdevelopment. We do have a lot of open space as is. And I just really want to know, and then again, the tax impact. So we were talking about 100 acres of land, 10 acres of land. I want to see what the tax revenue looks like for single family homes on those acres of land versus the number of units that could potentially be on here, and then the tax revenue generated from there. So I threw a lot at you, but I appreciate the time.
Thank you. I also see Lisa's iPhone. I'm going to allow you to talk.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you, Lisa Maselli, 13 Maple Street. We spent an awful lot of time using examples and imagining. I think that we spent too much time talking about one bylaw that I don't even think would pass a town meeting, because most of the people are residents that have these questions to pass at town meeting, not developers. I think that what Brad said is 100% right. It's not part of our master plan. I think we have a limited amount of sewer that we're allowed, and that single family homes are the greatest tax revenue, and that most of the places that we have today have been developed a lot in downtown. I don't even know why, the downtown and residential C is even involved in this, but there's so much emphasis on this and so much complication on this that it just doesn't seem to make any sense to me. And I really don't think that you should be bringing it before the town meeting. So thank you.
Thank you.
And the answer to the question is yes. I have fielded inquiries from folks who want to develop large parcels of open space. So, and like I said, this is not about recruiting developers. This is about people want to come in and develop land. So the conventional subdivision is the land is totally consumed by homes and roadways. This is an alternative to that form of development. So it's not saying developers come in, you know, we've had this bylaw for at least 15 years. And as far as I know, nobody's used it. So that isn't the point, to encourage people to come and develop. The point is, if a developer wants to develop land, right now, what the town of Northborough is saying is, we want you to divvy up any sort of parcel 100% into house lots and roadways. This is an alternative that would put this style of development on an equal level playing field with that type of development. So what they can say, what the town can say is, okay, you can develop this 100-acre parcel 100% into house lots and roadways, or you can go this other route. And this other route will enable the preservation of open space. So then we get open space, house lots, and roadways. Option A, we get house lots and roadways
Oh my God,
only.
this still won't stop.
Lisa, you're unmuted.
I'm unmuted again.
Yep.
So, but
Sorry,
Lori, if
I'm
I
done
understand,
talking, honey.
sorry,
Go ahead, Millie.
Lori, if I understand correctly, they can do that in RA and RB today,
Correct,
and nobody has done that.
correct.
So I don't, you know, in my mind, opening it up, certainly I'm definitely not a fan of the downtown one. But I don't see where changing this for RA, RB just to add in RC is really going to make that big of a difference.
If you take away the special permit, it will. I think we need oversight as a town, or you're gonna have unintended consequences.
I see what you're saying. So if we were to include RC, but keep it a special permit, is that more agreeable? Because
Be
we
more
haven't had
agreeable.
anybody in RA or RB special permit or even inquire, if I understand correctly.
I have had inquiries, yes,
With a special permit.
with the special permit,
Mhm.
yes.
And I think just to echo on Amy and Brad's comments, I think the oversight needs to stay intact and to have special permit there. And then you look at RC, I know that the survey results from the master plan survey where there's too many duplexes, there's too many triplexes. We want more control over duplexes, lower density housing. So that's something that's been demonstrated that the residents have expressed out loud.
Anthony, I missed the first part of what you said. I couldn't hear you. So are you saying that you wanted to open it up to RC, or you didn't want to?
No, I'm just saying I'd be open to RC, but I would like the oversight to stay intact, meaning special permit.
Are you open to the alternative types of housing, or you only want single family?
I think the towns has expressed the fact that they don't want that kind of density housing. So, I mean, if we're going to stick with what the residents have expressed in the past, I would say probably not.
But RC does currently allow duplexes.
Sure. But this is going to allow for a much denser building environment.
So would you folks be open to duplexes only in the RC?
As opposed to like townhouses or condos?
So it would be, so instead of, so let's say go with the special permit process, but allow single-family homes and duplexes.
I'd rather see a townhouse than a duplex.
Well, isn't a townhouse like a duplex times 2? Instead of 2, it's 4? And Bill has his hand up too.
Well, my comment's a little different, so I'll let Lori finish with hers first.
Well, I'm just looking for feedback. So, you know, are folks open to expanding it to RC, but not to downtown business, downtown neighborhood?
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Yep.
I'd like to see analysis too of how many parcels it would affect. I mean, all the other towns I looked at, there were 10 acres or more. And you and Carter picked 5 acres. So I was wondering why. I definitely wouldn't want to go down any lower than 5 acres because that's a really small parcel.
Yeah.
Well,
And the open space isn't.
I actually increased it from what it is currently today. So what it is currently today is just 2 house lots. So I increased it from 2 house lots, so that would be 80,000 square feet. So I increased it to 5 acres because I thought when you're talking about 50% open space set aside, that would be 2.5 acres. So that would be valuable open space. When you're talking about 80,000 square feet, 35% of 80,000 square feet isn't very much. It's not even an acre.
Right.
And then if you do it in RC and it's all these very small lots, you get these little small open space acres that nobody's maintaining. Like I think Susie or somebody from the ZBA last week mentioned, like I know our subdivisions had to have a parcel and the way they did it was just one random parcel in the middle. And it ended up that they started selling off a bunch of them. So they didn't even get saved. But I think it has to be, bigger, 5 to 10 acres to make it even
So under
open
the 5
space that's worth
acres,
anything.
it doesn't matter if the minimum lot size is 20,000 square feet, 40,000 square feet, or 80,000 square feet. 50% of 5 acres is 2.5 acres. So in the RC district, you would still end up with 2.5 acres of open space. Bless you.
Thank you.
So in RC, you think of a 5-acre lot, you get 2 houses. So that would be 10 houses on 5 acres. Allowed now.
So in the RC district, the minimum lot sizes are 20,000 square feet.
Right. So that gives you about 2 per acre.
So, but remember, you got roadways and you got detention basins. So that's going to limit how many lots you're going to get. But let's pretend on 5 acres, you can get 13 house lots. Let's just pretend. So you still get 13 house lots, but you get 2.5 acres of permanently protected open space, and then you get 13 dwelling units. So maybe those are single family homes, or maybe they're single families and duplexes, or single families, duplexes and triplexes.
But if it's RC, you couldn't get 13, isn't it? They're 43,000 in an acre. So
in the
it's
RC
probably
district, the minimum lot size is 20,000.
20. So you get 2 per acre approximately.
Yeah,
mean,
I'm just pulling a number out of
Yeah.
the hat.
Okay, I see Bill has his hand up.
Yeah, so I just want to say something. So, in a bit of a response to what Brad said, and I know we're getting into the weeds and into the numbers here, but one thing to keep in mind, is that, at the current rate, we are going to be under 10% affordable housing in 2031. That's 5 years next month. So if we don't do something now, Brad, you brought up the point, why now? If we don't do something now to bring in some developers to help us develop affordable housing, and we just keep putting up single family homes like we've been doing, that we're going to get to that number. And then guess what? Then we're in a 40B situation, which we don't have a say at that point. So there is a concern here, and there is, when when it comes to planning work, right, you got to think way in advance. And if you start doing that and you start thinking that from a planning board point of view, we are at the last minute here. So we really need to come up with something that's going to bring a developer in here to develop some homes, some affordable homes, right? Now, we've done a lot of work previously. Lori's done a lot of work previously in getting, down to the point that if they come in with a 10-unit project, they have to have affordable housing, right? But we still need more incentives, because I did the presentation for the MBTA, right? And there were a bunch of people that I remember coming up and saying, the developers are going to come in and they're going to build right away. No one's come in. No one's done anything to those areas, right? So again, I know this may not be the best situation, right? But we're going to be in an even worse situation in 5 years. And that's discounting when they do the census in 2030. My calculations put that we will be at somewhere between 8 and 9% once those census numbers come in. So, we don't want to be in a situation where Shrewsbury is right now, where they've got a 300 unit 40B in front of them. That's so, Brad, I wanted to answer your question as to why now.
I actually see that as a reason for not putting it in RC, because we need the bigger lots, because if you're going to get affordable housing, they have to build over 10. So if we open up these small lots in RC to do 6 and 7 houses, now all of a sudden we're going to get people building, and they're not going to go over the 10, and we're going to need affordable housing. Like, I actually see that the opposite. I think opening up RC for this open space housing is actually going to put us under, because it's the smaller lots that won't go over 10, and I think it will hurt us. They
Well, but
might
the
be
lots are
building
the same.
duplexes.
The lots are the same either way. What we're trying to do is we're trying to get them to build it into a smaller clustered area, right? Which then requires townhouses, not single family, not duplexes, right? Which then
Yes.
will bring them up to the 10 instead of keeping them down and doing but like I said, we're getting into the weeds, we're getting into the numbers, but we need to keep the bigger picture in mind here.
They'll just build 9, and now we're going to open up ways for them to build 9 easier. Like, I actually
don't-
feel this is going to hurt us if we do it. And I didn't even think of the affordable part. We cannot force them to build affordable unless they go over 10.
But I don't understand, I don't understand that philosophy, because they're building anyway. This is just an alternative to conventional. So if they buy a 5-acre parcel, they're going to build on that 5-acre parcel. They're going to build the same number of houses on that 5-acre parcel. So I just don't understand why this is an incentive to build. It's not. It's people are purchasing, developers are purchasing property for the purpose of developing. Are they going to build it the conventional way, or are they going to build it this way? That is the question.
The formula doesn't look into, like I said, the ledge and the steep slopes.
Neither does our conventional subdivision requirements.
Right. Well, that's
There
why they
is
don't
no
build them.
discussion whatsoever about a slope other than slope of the roadway.
Right.
Right, but they don't build it because it's not financially feasible. But if
They
we give them
do.
if we give them a way to build it without having to go through those finances,
Those
then this is
A&R lots are being built on ridiculously steep lots.
some, but not many. The Reservoir one is still for sale. Like they're trying to sell them, the ones on Reservoir Street that
Mhm.
we approved. But it's a hard sell. You've got to get someone who wants to build on the steep lots.
But that doesn't change under this scenario. The land is the land.
Right, but some would. I think it would. I
don't
see
know.
Susie's hand is up. Susie?
Susie Sislika, 8 Emerson Road. I'm not, if I'm on camera, we lost our power, a couple minutes ago. So just to let you guys know. So I wanted to respond to Bill and about the affordable housing and about encouraging people to build. So you don't want to encourage people to build fast in 5 years, because our schools can't keep up. I'm going to say this again, and I'll call in every meeting. Our schools are busting at the seams. I will bring you on a tour. I can set it up. Sorry.
Oh, we lost you.
You lost her, and I live kind of close to her, so if I lose power soon, I
She's
wonder if
on mute.
we.
I don't know if she hit mute or not.
Can you,
Oh,
hi,
okay.
sorry,
Oh,
Sorry.
hear you now.
sorry. We don't have a Wi-Fi right now. So our schools are busting at the seams, and I know that the population is going to be rising, so we can't really handle any more. Keithley's not even going to be done in 5 years. So I just want to point that out when we're talking about having huge housing developments come in. So just keep that in mind when we're talking about the housing developments and everything. But if you have any questions and want to tour the schools, I'm always available to set that up.
Yeah.
Good luck,
No,
Amy.
Susie, I
We're in the
completely
trenches
agree
here.
with you. Yeah,
What?
I completely agree with you, Susie. That's not my point. My point is that once we get under 10%, we no longer have a choice. We can't stop it from
Right.
happening. Right now, we have a choice. So we can build in mechanisms to have a choice. Once we go under and a 40B comes in, we lose that choice. That's my point
Bingo.
about the
Anyway.
affordable housing. Right. So that's why we want to stay above that 10%, because then we have a choice. We can make the choice whether the project comes in or doesn't. Once we go under 10%, the planning board loses that option.
And with the special permit, you can keep that, right?
You can't deny a subdivision on the basis of school population.
No.
Lori,
It's
I know
it's-
that, Lori. I know that.
Well, I guess I don't understand why you brought up. the
But we
school
don't
then.
want to encourage, I don't want to encourage developers to come in. I don't want to, like we're saying, I don't want to encourage developers to be coming in to build giant housing developments right now.
But if you don't, then they will. In 5 years, they'll just wait out 5 years and then they'll come in. And like I said, you can look at the Shrewsbury 300 unit that's going up right now. That's a 40B. They had no say in it whatsoever. So either way, it's going to happen. The question is, can we control it a little bit or can't we? That's
Yeah,
all.
I don't think this is going to control it, though. I don't think this is going to add to affordable housing. It's going to add to housing.
Well, either way, I mean, if we're gonna have people who are coming in and building single family houses, one thing I do want to point out is what we are missing is the missing middle, and that is the townhouses, and that is some of the I would say more affordable, but not state definition affordable housing, and that doesn't really contribute to the kids, going to school at that time. It contributes to a population that can't afford to live in this town because all the houses are single family houses and there really aren't other options. Not many of them.
The hard thing is we can't tell them what size to build. So in this town, we allow duplexes, and the ones that have been built are bigger than my house. They're 3,000 square feet on each side. So just because we allow townhouses and duplexes, it doesn't mean they're going to be smaller or affordable. Sadly, I mean,
Well, each one is more affordable than a single family house. They're not cheap relative to a single family house for the most part, but we just don't have any of that. My kids can't afford to live in this town.
No, mine can't either, but I don't think this is going to help us. Like, it's hard
if
to
we can
solve
put
that
in,
problem.
yeah, but I do
If we
think
could
do have a
force them to
missing
build
middle.
small, like if you could say you have to do an 1,800 square foot house, then that would make it cheaper. But if we just say duplex, then that's just two houses on one lot to the
Well,
developers that come to Northborough.
The cottages, I believe, are in the zoning bylaw. It says 1,800 square feet, I believe, 1,850, something like
Right.
that.
But nobody's built one because you can't force them to build the cottage. The developers build what makes them the money. And what makes them the money is the big houses.
Well, that's also
Or the
the only
townhouses.
thing that's allowed in most of the town.
They can build, you could come in and build a neighborhood of 1,800 square foot houses and not call them cottages. They can build whatever size they want. Like if they build a cul-de-sac with 6 houses, it
But
can
the
be,
lot sizes demand large homes because of the land costs.
Mm-hmm.
right. But if it's 1-to-1, it's going to be the same, like you said.
Cottages are small homes on 5,000 square foot lots. And they're
Right.
only allowed in the downtown neighborhood district.
Right. But just because we open this up doesn't mean they're going to build cottage houses. They're going to build what makes them the most money, what they can fit.
I think with the planning of this in the like the thing that worries me still with the lights out, by the way, just in case I go out again. I got a text. It's like it's not an Elcott, which it kind of like is the extension of Emerson. So I don't know if it's just our street or not. But I think with the planning of this, like something that has to be given great thought, which you guys are thinking, and I can see the thought of like the special permit and the the planning for like the cliff situation in downtown and the size of the homes. And, part of planning is also like you're thinking about the smaller, the young people that are coming in. But I implore you to think about the schools because that's part of town planning. You're thinking about the young people, but you have to think about the schools because if you look at where I know the Peaslee School Committee, the Peaslee, building committee was tonight. I believe I saw that pop up on my screen because I subscribe to our meeting channel, and that's a very long process. It takes a long time to build a school and to go through the application process and the bidding process. And, it's like 6 or 7 years to out, just to even get a school built. And that's why Shrewsbury is looking into a moratorium on the building right now. They're looking into a moratorium on these housing buildings. Like you're talking about what they're looking with the 40B, they might not even have any building. They can't take it anymore. They're municipal services right now. Like they can't handle it school-wise, fire, like everything. So police, I don't want us to be there. And I love the character and I moved here for the schools. I love our schools. I love working for the PTO. I mean, I love our teachers. I love everything that our town has to give. You know, it's just like something that's part of planning, you know, so just keep in mind. But thank you.
Thanks. I should probably move it along because we do have to keep going. I don't know if we have any consensus on anything. I'm not sure how many people would like to see it by, when we did open this up for Lori and Carter, I did say off the bat, it's great to look at it, but there's no promises. So it's not something we have to do. Some people may want to do it. So it's up to you. It's up to everybody. And then it's up to the voters. So do we want to go forward with it? Do we want to go by special permit? Next steps for the planning board with this bylaw.
I personally don't see it as a big obstacle in one sense because, we've had this existing law in RA and RB, and it really hasn't had any impact at all. Special permit, I would be open to. I wouldn't be, I'm not a fan of it being in downtown.
Okay, thanks. I think the reason why it hasn't had any impact really, because it is single family homes right now. It's single family homes by special permit. So, but the developers could come in and still use it. We could
honestly
try to promote it.
Right. But I also think that we haven't had a lot, because the interest rates are high, the costs are high. I do think that we need to be mindful that once that starts to change, we don't want to be hit with all of these things that are going to increase density all at once.
Right. So you're okay with it by special permit? Are you opening it to RC or?
I am.
Okay, so Millie is RC special permit.
Yeah, I think I'm with Millie.
I would too.
Okay, I actually want to see how many parcels would be affected in RC if 5 acres versus 10 acres. Because I do notice a lot of surrounding towns use the 10-acre rule. And if we did do 10 acres, then you might be more apt to get more affordable housing because then they're going to go over the 10 units.
Right. And I would agree with that. I think, like I said, this is worth more discussion.
Yep.
And, if we can make some of these things more appealing and less impact.
Lori, is there a way to see how many 5-acre versus 10-acre lots there are in RC?
Sure. You can do that research. And you're only interested in RC, right?
Yeah, because it's already in RA and RB. I
feel
mean,
like we already did that for that property a couple of years ago. It was the Hutchins property.
he is 4 acres. But there might have been something that Kathy did
Yeah.
to look at how many properties in RC.
Yeah. Because they wanted to change the zoning accordingly, and we were like, it's only 3 properties that would be affected.
Yeah,
I'm not sure where I'd find that.
Yeah.
Or, but we can do that research.
Okay.
Abby's always looking for fun projects to do.
It sounds like the board, if they decide to go forward with this, would stick with the special permit.
That's fine. Are you open to the yield versus the plan versus the calculation?
I have to look
The
at
plan
that
is
with more detail.
I'm sorry?
I'd have to maybe spend some more time on that to understand the pros and cons.
Okay.
So the way the plan is the plan, they would have to come with, I noticed other towns did, is they have to first come forward with a subdivision plan, like they're creating a subdivision. And then and include all the septic and the wetlands. And then that's how they get the number versus the yield? Is that what that is, Lori?
So right now, the way it works is that it's based on a mathematical equation that takes into account wetlands. And that's it.
So the new
my
one,
proposal was to base it on a preliminary plan that takes into account our other regulations like wetlands regulations, Title V and the like.
okay. All right. And then everybody can think about,
Yeah, I think it makes sense to make it as, if you were going to build the subdivision, how would you build it? Right? I think it makes a lot more sense to do it like Lori's saying than just a straight mathematical computation.
okay. Now, I'm not going to be here December 16th, so I'm hoping we could bump it till January. I mean, Abby might need that long anyways to do,
Mm,
because I'd like to be part of the discussion. Right now for December 16th, is it just the preliminary subdivision?
And
maybe Saint-Gobain.
Saint-Gobain. Yep, just those two. And then of course the zoning amendments that we talked about earlier tonight, the fence bylaw. Bill and Carter will have the I can't remember.
Data center.
Data center, that's the name, thank you.
mhm.
Okay. Maybe if you guys go over those, if you send them out in advance, I'll definitely read them. And send along any input. And then January, we can make some decisions. I know depending on how many zoning bylaws we have, they're trying to decide if we start doing a fall town meeting for the planning board and the zoning. Or if there aren't that many bylaws, then we just go forward in April. Depends on how long town meeting is. My only concern with going in the fall is, what if we don't get a quorum? What if we have all these bylaws and we don't get a quorum?
Mm.
Right.
So I guess we can talk about it in January. Last year was the only year we went that long. I don't even remember what bumped it that long. But it wasn't our fault because we were at the end.
No, it was a lot of things.
So, but we've never had anything like that before. All right. So moving forward, we have A&Rs. Is everybody ready to move forward?
Yep.
Okay. Moving forward, we have A&Rs, lot releases, bonds. Any, Lori?
None.
Okay. We have no minutes. Any subcommittee updates?
I just
Bill?
have one. Yeah. So the Whitney Street bridge closure, we're going to discuss that at the next traffic safety committee meeting, which is next Tuesday. So if anyone has any questions or concerns about that, it's been an interesting process over the last 4 months with that bridge. So just so everyone's aware, they are going to completely close down that bridge on Whitney Street going over the railroad tracks near the SA Farm area. It's because the construction on the bridge has completely failed. If you go over the railroad tracks on Barefoot, you can look over and you can see all the bracing they've put on that bridge to keep it up right now. They actually approached the select board. I want to say it's almost a month ago now, to give the select board 2 options, whether just to close the bridge or put a one-way temporary roadway with lights on either side, which I think would have caused a lot more traffic problems than it would have been worth. But there'll be more on that in that meeting. Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else?
Yeah, I've got one, but I'm losing my voice, so I'm gonna save it for next time.
Okay. Millie? No?
And I have some CBC applications, but I wasn't at the meeting last time, so again, I'm gonna bump it to next time.
Okay. In design review, we're still working on finalizing the design review guidelines, and then we'll bring it to the planning board. So we meet next week. All right, so our next meeting is December 16th and January 6th. ZBA meets on January 27th, Lori? I thought it was the 13th.
ZBA is gonna meet on January 13th instead of December 27th.
Okay. And the MPIC meets December 18th. Does anybody have anything else to add?
I did just want to mention that I am going to be on vacation and out of the country from December 25th. I'm going to be in the country for Christmas and then out to January 5th. So the planning board meeting on the 6th, I'm going to do my best to prepare before Christmas. And then I am going to be out of communication completely. So I might be coming into the meeting a little blind.
That's okay. As long as you have a tan and a smile, we'll be happy for you.
Thank you.
And since I missed the next meeting, I can say Happy New Year to everybody. I won't see you till next year.
Oh my goodness.
Can you believe that?
It's not, yeah,
I
no,
don't know where 2025 went.
strange. So
All
fast.
right. Does anybody have anything else for tonight? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
Roll call vote, Bill Pierce,
aye.
Millie Milton,
Aye.
Anthony Zaitin,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. See you next year.